Hi, how are you today? Many of you, my viewers, may be wondering why I am still bothering with WLCraig. 3 reasons. 1, he disseminates typical religious Christian mentality, which makes people feel humility because they are created by God and makes them worship God. This is a typical master-slave mentality. And he gives lectures in universities to students, young people. He travels abroad as far away as Australia, and his reasoning is faulty. 2, I have started, so I'll have to finish with him, with what I want to say as a response to him. And 3, he has to be held accountable for his linguistic crimes and crimes against science. I will illustrate what I mean. Let's start with his linguistic crimes. Some of the phrases he uses make me laugh because they are so absurd. Take this one, abstract objects.
Abstract objects?
You can't take words from different fields, put them together and think that you have made a sensible phrase. Abstract objects. Objects are tangible things that can be studied by science. Abstract, this notion is created as opposite to objects. It is abstractions, ideas that we have in our head. For example, when we see a person, we don't enumerate all the little particles that are in his body or the processes that go there or the color of his eyes and so on. We make an abstraction and we say a man.
Abstract objects exist in this way.
As abstract objects, he enumerates numbers, mind. He has dropped mind already because maybe his advisors have told him that mind is not an object, it's not a thing, it's not a separate thing. We make an abstraction of all the neurological activity in our brain, the ideas, the connections between them, memories, and so on, creating new ideas. This is what mind is, but we can't enumerate always all these things. We find one, we make an abstraction and give it a name, mind, so that we can easily communicate with each other.
Abstract objects like numbers or God.
And I have heard him include God in this. I've heard him say that God is an abstract object. I will try to find the link to this video where I heard that, but there are so many videos and I'm not organized to every time write it down or download it and keep it. I will try to do that. But he did say God is an abstract object. Because this phrase, abstract object, is a nonsensical phrase. It does not exist. It is a crime against linguistics. It can't be said, not on my watch. So I wonder, I've always wondered, what is this thing, God? What is the definition of it? Could somebody, Mr. Craig or other theologians, give me an answer? A few days ago, I found just such a question posed to Craig on his site Reasonable Faith. I will put a link down there. You can read it for yourself. I don't have the software to put comments or links, other things than videos in my video. I will roughly describe to you what this question was. Some person, a Christian, is asking me, Mr. Craig, what is the definition of God? Because he made videos asking atheists what is their strongest argument against God, and the atheists answered, because there is no definition, you can't describe what God is. So he was asking Craig to tell him how can he answer. I was very curious to see what Craig's answer is, because I thought finally I will see actually what they think God is. Craig starts his answer with, wow, 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 positivism and verificationism on the road again. By positivism and verificationism, he means trends in philosophy which said that we can ascertain anything that is real only if we can measure it, touch it, if science can account for it, can measure it. Which is not really such a bad thing. Actually, positivism was an argument between scientists at the beginning of the century, of 19th century, and it concerned some physical laws, some parts of the science of physics. It was between Mach and some other scientists. I don't remember details. What Craig meant to say is that, wow, these atheists, they want everything to be described to them and to be pointed out and to be defined. I don't see anything wrong with that. So until the end of his answer, it was a very long answer, just read it for yourself. Actually, he doesn't give any definition for God. I suspect because there isn't any. Then what are we to think when they say God? Then, I'm trying to think philosophically here. If God is an abstract object, I remember Aristotle was saying that you can't say that there is an infinite body, infinite object, because a body has to have a surface. It is bounded by a surface. So he was, this expression, this statement of Craig's was refuted more than 2,000 years ago by Aristotle.
As a result of sociobiological pressures, there has evolved among Homo sapiens a sort of herd morality that functions well in the perpetuation of our species.
Other linguistic crimes of his. Herd morality. You can't take two words from different meaning, completely different things, and combine them because they don't fit together. What is a herd? Animals, ungulates, groups of ungulates we call herds, they are animals. People, human being is different from animal. It has evolved into being a much more complex being, living being. Our central nervous system is a lot more complex. We have a brain which is able to make symbolic representation of the world around us. It makes metaphorical symbolic representations as well. That's what numbers are, and so on. So herd morality goes out the window as well. The third one is connected with it when Craig calls morality on the atheistic view only social conditioning and biological evolution. He repeats it many times with quite a dismissal and disdain in his voice, as if that's actually nothing. He overlooks the fact, or he doesn't know it, that it has taken several millions of years for the human species, Homo sapiens, to evolve, and he doesn't take into account all that long duration, all the many generations, the changes, mutations, and then the natural selection taking place. Evolution was carried out, natural selection is down to not only the physical circumstances, geographical circumstances in which the species lived, but also every other species, but most of all, other individuals from the same species, other humans, because humans lived in groups, and for millions of years humans lived in groups, and yes, social conditioning made an effect on the forming of the brain, and this resulted in our morality. For example, if anybody started killing people, all the rest of the group will get together and kill him, so he won't be able to leave descendants. And any other, well, crimes were punished this way, and that is why the different moral values have crystallized in our brain.
Actions like rape, cruelty, and child abuse aren't just socially unacceptable behavior.
Also, how can he say it is socially unacceptable? You use this phrase when you talk of fashion, when you talk of picking your nose in public, and things like that. That's what we term socially unacceptable.